What is up guys, it's Naff here. So today I wanted to test out killing frost dragons for prayer experience. Now I know what you're thinking, no, this doesn't mean killing frost dragons, banking the bones and taking them to an altar. This method actually just involves killing the dragons and immediately getting prayer experience. Now for this method to actually work, it requires two key items, a bone crusher. Now this is bought from Demonheim for 34,000 dungeoneering tokens. A bone crusher will automatically bury any bones that are dropped from a monster upon killing them. And the second crucial item for this method to work is a Dragon Rider Amulet. Now a Dragon Rider Amulet doubles the regular experience when burying any kind of bone. So when the bone crusher buries the bone, it then gets doubled from the frost dragon. So this will mean every single frost dragon kill I'll be getting 360 prayer experience, which does require the one of a kind quest. Now I'm particularly interested in this method for my Ironmen because regardless I would need to farm bones anyway. I don't have the gold to do the Prifidanus method, so I would need to farm bones. So if I can cut out the process of having to bank and run it to an altar or Ectofungus or the Chaos Altar, I'll definitely want to see how this goes. So I'm definitely interested to see the results. Now those are the only two items for this method to work, but anything that will allow you to camp frost dragons as long as possible is recommended. Now as you can see with my setup, I am wearing full Guthans for the self-healing, and I'm using the Penance Aura, which will mean as I'm taking damage, I'm restoring prayer. In terms of other items, I also have Charming Imp just to get the charms as I go, and a gem bag, and some Alch runes. They do drop rune, not too frequently, but I will be alching it nevertheless, and I'm hoping this will keep me there for an hour. Now just a reminder, if you are going to use a setup where you don't have an Any-Fire shield, you will need to be using Any-Fire potions or Protect from Magic, which is what I'll be using. Now one thing of note, if you haven't been to Frost Dragons before or you aren't too regular here, there is an altar not too far from the location. So if you don't have any way of keeping your prayer up and you don't have prayer potions or don't want to use prayer potions, it isn't too much of a run to come back here to get your prayer points up. Although in my opinion it's rather inefficient, so if you can find another way to keep your prayer points, I would advise doing that, or at least use prayer potions, but it is an alternative, especially if you are banking a lot. If you are actually banking the bones, it's very easy just to get the prayer points from there as you run past. So I'm now here. So I've got everything with my metrics reset and ready to track, so I'll see you in an hour for the results. Okay, so I am just going up and finishing up my last kill for this 1 hour run. So I didn't have to bank at all, things were pretty easy. The only risk you do have with this kind of setup is the reflection. They have the special ability where a light blue orb tracks them, but I never died to it, which was fortunate. But anyway, jumping into the stats, you can see it's going down pretty quickly, but this is an hour, so 88k prayer experience in 1 hour. And I actually managed to get very similar throughout the 3 combats, so it was roughly about 280k combat experience plus the prayer, so that's pretty crazy. I was pretty happy with that. With all things considered, it was pretty good. It's very easy compared to if you are banking Frostbones because you don't have to pay as much attention. You don't have to worry about your familiar running out or continually just having to go to the bank and running back. You can just put on some videos and just fight or just keep in combat. Again, the only thing you have to worry about with Frost Dragons is their reflection ability, and as long as you can keep your prayer up, you never have to worry about the fire breath. But I would say the main advantage of this over doing the other methods where you would bank the bones instead is more the combat experience. Given you spend a lot more time just generally fighting instead of doing things like running to the bank or running to an altar, it results in more combat experience. But in regards to prayer, I'm not so certain it's the most efficient way, just because you're getting a lot less value each dragon bone, but regardless, pretty good, 88k in an hour. And another thing to mention was, it was pretty good charms. Again, my Charming Imp eats gold charms, I don't want them, but in terms of crims, that's pretty good, and greens, they're not too useful, but can't complain with 100 of those. And then I was going to pick up the herbs, but very early on I decided I would spend too much time looting, and I really wanted to focus on getting the most prayer experience possible. So I was picking up the talismans, because I don't have too many of them and I would like to have more. just in case I find a good use for them and when I do want to train high level summoning. So I pick those up, and same with the spirit gems because they're very useful as well. But regardless, that was my first hour. Now I do plan on doing another hour without penance aura. So obviously things are a little bit different with penance because you have infinite prayer essentially. Now I also want to try a run with a different setup when I don't have this aura. So bear with me 30 seconds and I'll just gear up for that. Okay, so here we are ready for run number 2. Now the key differences are, because I don't have penance aura and therefore I don't have infinite prayer, I have to bring prayer pots. Now this is most likely more than enough for an hour, but I would prefer to go a little bit on the side of caution and bring more than I need, just because I do want to have a full hour worth of experience. So keep that in mind. And along with that, I'm also using Vampirism Aura. Now that's not necessary. Just with Guthans alone, on the last trip, I was able to stay there the full duration. And also with that, they drop a lot of sharks. I guess just looking at my drop log from that last hour, I did pick up 11 sharks. And that's just from what I picked up. There were some that I just left there. It shouldn't be an issue with food, although if you're going to do this without Guthans, I would advise considering maybe better quality food or something along the lines of a bunyip, just in case you get unlucky with the shark drops. And on that note as well, I guess I'll mention that last hour I got 77k worth of alcohol, so it's not great on the side of money, but regardless, I'm now going to head out for the second trip just to see how I go without penance. Okay, so I just finished my last kill and my aura is about to run out, so I'm going to finish up now. So this has been another hour of Frost Dragons, but not using Penance Aura, using Vampirism Aura, just to compare how viable this is without Penance, as Penance is kind of a big deal. So in terms of the experience gained, very similar. There is a little bit less experience gained. I guess that would be due to the fact that I was spending more time picking up sharks. Naturally, it's a bit RNG based, but I would say that there was a few times I actually forgot to renew my prayer points and it ran out and I took a lot of damage and I had to stop and eat or stop and pick up additional sharks. So that was a factor, but regardless, both results were very similar, between about 80 to 90k an hour with a setup similar to this. Now, if you could manage to have Soul Split and tier 90 gear, naturally you could probably pull 90, maybe even 100k an hour. Again, I'm only using tier 70, there's much better gear in the game, and I'm also not using a familiar. Obviously those things factor into more damage, but regardless, so Frost Dragons with an average setup can net you between about 80 to 90k prayer experience an hour with a Dragon Rider Amulet and a Bone Crusher, so I was very happy with that. And in terms of prayer pots, you could get away with taking about 6 an hour. So if you wanted to stay for longer, obviously you could bring more, but if you're just planning it per hour, 6 per hour would be suffice with the prayer pots. So that's all for this video. I hope you did enjoy, and I'll catch you in the next one.